The incident the twin suns of planet Zerath 9 burned like molten eyes in the orange sky. It was another long day for Ryan Cole, a human engineer working in the mining colony near the edge of the galactic frontier. He wasn't a hero, not a soldier, just a man fixing machines and trying to survive far from Earth. He liked quiet days. But that day was not quiet. The ground began to shake under his boots. The air smelled of burning metal. Alarms screamed through the colony as a transport pod fell from the sky, spiraling like a dying bird. Ryan dropped his tools and looked up. The pod was heading straight for the main square. People ran, shouting in alien languages, their four-armed bodies scattering in panic. Ryan didn't think. He just moved. The pod crashed with a deafening roar, throwing dust and fire into the air. He ran toward it, heat burning his face. The hatch was half crushed, sparks flying everywhere. He pulled at the metal with his gloved hands, shouting, "Is anyone inside?" A small cry answered. Through the smoke, he saw two small figures trapped behind the warped door. Their silver-blue skin shimmered in the firelight. Alien children. Without a second thought, Ryan jammed his wrench into the door seam and pulled with all his strength. The door screeched open and he reached in, grabbing the nearest child by the arm. "Come on. It's okay." He pulled them out one by one, both girls trembling, eyes glowing faint green with fear. The crowd had stopped running. They stared in shock as Ryan lifted the second child in his arms and carried her out of the wreck. For a moment, everything went silent. Then someone in the crowd whispered, a trembling voice. Half in awe, half in horror. He touched them. Ryan frowned. What? They were trapped. Before he could finish, dozens of soldiers in black armor stormed the square, their boots thundering against the ground. They surrounded him in a perfect circle, weapons aimed at his chest. "Hey, easy. I'm just trying to—" "Silence!" one barked, his translator collar turning the alien growls into words Ryan could understand. The human touched the royal daughters. Ryan froze. Royal? The soldiers dropped to one knee as a massive shadow fell over him. A towering figure stepped out of a glowing hovercraft. Her armor glistened like liquid silver, her eyes sharp as blades. The crowd bowed, heads pressed low to the ground. General Tirana, Supreme Commander of the Zerathi fleet, mother of the Empire's most precious heirs. Her gaze locked on Ryan. Two of her daughters stood behind her, unharmed but holding each other's hands. Their faces were full of confusion, and one of them whispered, "Mother, he saved us." Tirana's expression didn't change. "Human," she said slowly, her voice calm but heavy with danger. "You touched my daughters?" Ryan raised his hands, palms open. "They were trapped. I didn't know who they were. I was just trying to help." The general's eyes narrowed. "To help, you made contact?" Yes, but..." The soldiers' weapons hummed louder. The crowd held its breath. Even the wind stopped. Then the general spoke again, softly, almost like a verdict. "There's no escape now." Before Ryan could even ask what she meant, a bright flash of blue light exploded around him. His body froze. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. The air shimmered, and he felt himself being pulled upward by some invisible force. "Wait, what's happening?" he shouted, but the words vanished into the hum of the transporter beam. The last thing he saw was the two little girls, their wide eyes filled with guilt and fear, before everything went white. When Ryan woke, his head ached. He was lying on a cold metallic floor surrounded by floating lights and strange symbols. The air was clean, too clean. The walls pulsed with faint energy. He sat up slowly, trying to remember what happened. The crash, the kids, the soldiers. Then he saw the mark glowing faintly on his wrist. A strange golden circle that hadn't been there before. A robotic voice spoke from nowhere. "Subject Ryan Cole. Containment successful. Await trial under Galactic Law 47B. Trial? What trial?" Ryan muttered. A hologram flickered to life above him. The same general appeared, arms crossed, eyes colder than space itself. "You will answer before the court," she said, "for your actions against royal protocol." Ryan's heart pounded. "I saved your daughters." "Yes," she said, "and by doing so you broke a sacred rule of our kind." The chamber lights dimmed and the floor began to move, carrying him toward a large, glowing door. He didn't understand what was happening, but one thing was clear. He was no longer on Zerath 9. As the door opened, Ryan stared into a vast alien courtroom filled with hundreds of glowing figures. They all turned to look at him. the lone human who had dared to touch what no one else could. And somewhere deep inside him, a thought whispered, "What kind of place punishes someone for saving a child?" But the general's voice cut through his thoughts once more, powerful and final. "You touched my daughters, human. There's no escape now. Not from me and not from the law." The Galactic Law Ryan Cole stood alone inside a vast, glowing chamber, the Galactic Court of Zirath. The floor was made of light, shifting and alive, and the walls curved upward like the ribs of some great creature. Above him floated dozens of alien judges, each one wrapped in shimmering energy, their eyes like blue flames. The air was heavy, silent. He could feel their eyes cutting through him like lasers. At the center of the court stood General Tirana, her silver armor gleaming under the starlight roof. Her daughter stood quietly behind her, small, innocent, and afraid. Ryan wanted to speak, to explain, but his throat was dry. The memory of the crash still burned in his mind. He'd saved those girls, risked his life, and now he stood here like a criminal. A deep mechanical voice broke the silence. Proceeding of Galactic Law 47B, unauthorized physical contact with royal bloodline. The words echoed around the hall. Ryan frowned. Unauthorized what? One of the judges floated forward, his form rippling with power. You human made physical contact with the offspring of the matriarch General Tirana. According to Galactic Law 47B, you are now bound by union to the royal bloodline. Ryan blinked. Bound by what now? The crowd gasped. Even some soldiers whispered. The daughters looked confused. The general's jaw tightened. You mean marriage? Ryan asked, his voice cracking. The translator drone above him beeped, then spoke in perfect English. Correction. According to Zirathi custom, touching of royal daughters initiates an automatic binding contract of marriage to ensure protection, honor, and lineage purity. Ryan's mouth fell open. You're kidding. The general's eyes glowed faintly, a sign of restrained fury. We do not joke about the law. He turned toward her. With all due respect, General, I was saving their lives. I didn't even know who they were. That does not matter, said the lead judge. Intent is irrelevant. Contact is contact. The law has been spoken for thousands of cycles. Ryan took a step forward, but two guards blocked him instantly with energy spears. This is insane. You can't just force someone into... The chamber lights dimmed suddenly. A great symbol appeared above him, the mark of binding, glowing gold. It matched the strange tattoo on his wrist. The crowd murmured in awe. The judges chanted softly, their voices blending like wind over glass. Law confirmed. Bond accepted. Ryan looked at his wrist in disbelief. The golden mark pulsed, syncing with his heartbeat. What the hell is happening to me? The youngest daughter stepped forward timidly. Her name, Ryan would later learn, was Eliara. She held out her hand and touched the glowing mark on his wrist. It pulsed brighter. The chamber gasped again. The eldest daughter whispered to her mother, It's true, mother. The law has chosen him. General Tirana's face hardened. Then the law is blind. She turned to the council. This human is unfit for royal bond. He is weak, untrained, and not of our kind. The judge replied calmly. Even a matriarch cannot defy the law. Only the death of the bonded can break it. The room went silent again. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Death? The general glared at him, her voice like steel. Then perhaps that can be arranged. Two guards stepped forward, weapons ready. Ryan's pulse raced. Whoa, wait a second. You're going to kill me because I helped your kids? The younger daughter cried out, No. He saved us. Please, mother. The general's eyes flickered with conflict, but her pride held firm. The law is cruel, but it is ours. Ryan clenched his fist. Then your law is broken. The court gasped. The sound like thunder in a storm. No one had ever spoken against the law. The general turned sharply, her voice low and dangerous. You dare insult the empire that spared your life? Spared me? Ryan snapped. You call this mercy? I risked everything to save them, and you want to erase me for it? You can't scare me with your rules. Where I come from, saving children is called being human. His words echoed. The translators hummed. Some soldiers exchanged glances. A few even nodded slightly. For the first time, the general hesitated. The human's courage was unsettling. He didn't tremble, didn't beg. He stood tall before an entire empire. The lead judge broke the silence. Human courage is unusual, it said. Perhaps that is why the law bound him. Another judge added, "Fate chooses strangely, but it never chooses without reason." The chamber fell quiet. Then the central platform beneath Ryan began to rise slowly. "Where are you taking me now?" he shouted. "To your new home," replied the robotic voice. "The royal vessel, where your duties as bonded husband will begin." Ryan looked down at the glowing mark again. It pulsed, matching the rhythm of his heart. General Tirana turned away, her cape sweeping like liquid metal. "Keep him under guard. If he tries to escape, kill him." Ryan smirked slightly, even through his fear. "Lady, you'll need more than guards to hold me." She paused mid-step, half turning her head. For the first time, a faint spark of respect flickered in her cold eyes. "Careful, human," she said softly. "In this galaxy, bravery can get you killed." Ryan stared at her, unflinching. "Or it can change everything." The platform lifted him through a column of blue light, rising into the depths of the alien flagship. Below, whispers spread through the court like fire. The human who touched the royal daughters is now their husband by law. And somewhere high above, in the endless dark of space, Ryan Cole began to understand one thing. He wasn't just caught in a misunderstanding. He was now part of an empire's destiny. And that empire was watching him very closely. The unwanted husband. The stars outside the ship stretched like silver fire across the darkness. Ryan Cole stood at the window of his new prison, the Zerathi royal flagship Valkyrian. It wasn't a home. It wasn't a palace. It was a floating fortress the size of a small moon, armed to the teeth and crewed by thousands of soldiers, and Ryan was now its most unwanted guest. He had been given a small chamber, clean, silent, and full of strange glowing walls. No door handle, no way out. Every few minutes, a silver drone floated by, scanning him with a red beam. Daily scan complete, it would chirp. Ryan would wave at it and mutter, "Yeah, still human. Thanks for checking." He didn't know if he was married, imprisoned, or both. All he knew was that the general hated him, and the Empire wasn't sure whether to honor him or erase him. 3 days passed. No one spoke to him except the drones, until the door finally slid open with a hiss. The general entered, her armor glinting under the cold lights. She looked as if she hadn't slept, her eyes sharper than knives. Her daughters followed behind her, their faces bright with curiosity. "Human," the general said, voice flat. "You are alive. Good. The court demanded it." Ryan crossed his arms. "Glad to know I'm on the not dead yet list." Her eyes narrowed. "Do not mistake survival for acceptance. You are here because the law demands it." "Because I do," Ryan smirked slightly. "You keep saying that. But if the law makes me your husband, maybe we should at least talk." The room went still. Even the drones paused midair. The general's jaw tightened. "You are not my husband," she said slowly. "You are a mark of shame the law forced upon us." One of the daughters giggled softly. "Mother, he doesn't look so bad." The general glared at her. "Silence, Iliara." Ryan looked at the younger one and smiled gently. "You're the one who touched my wrist in the court, right?" She nodded shyly. "It glowed when I did. It means the law accepted you." Tirana's voice turned cold again. "Enough. Human, you will remain under observation. You will work to repay the chaos you caused." "Work?" Ryan asked. "Doing what?" "Maintenance," she replied. "Your records show you are an engineer. You will repair what we tell you to repair, and you will not leave your section." Ryan shrugged. "Fine, I'll fix your ship. But you don't scare me, General." For the first time, Tirana's expression cracked, just slightly. She stepped closer until her shadow fell across him. "You should be scared, human, because the ones who hate you are not inside this ship. They are waiting outside, and they want to see you dead before sunrise." Later that night, Ryan sat alone in the engineering deck. The air smelled of oil and plasma. Strange machines hummed around him. He worked quietly, trying to understand the alien tech. His human tools barely worked here, but he improvised, using logic, instinct, and a bit of luck. The crew watched from a distance, whispering among themselves. "That's the human? He looks weak. Why did the law choose him?" He ignored them. But then the lights flickered. The hum of the ship changed, deeper, slower. Ryan frowned. That's not right. He checked the power core readings. Something was wrong, dangerously wrong. A virus was spreading through the ship's systems. It wasn't an accident. It was sabotage. "Computer, isolate the breach." he ordered. Breach origin, command level, the system replied. Command level? Ryan froze. That meant someone high-ranking had planted it. If the virus reached the reactor, the whole ship would explode. He ran through the control panels, bypassing alien firewalls, sweat running down his face. The ship trembled. Alarms started to scream. Then the comm system crackled. It was Tirana's voice. Human, what have you done? Me, I'm saving your ship, Ryan shouted, slamming his hand on the console. Your system's infected. Impossible. Only my inner council has access. Then you've got a traitor. For a few seconds, silence. Then the general's tone changed. Sharper, urgent. Can you stop it? I can try, but if I fail, we'll all be dust. Ryan's fingers flew across the panel, rerouting power through emergency conduits. The lights flickered again. The reactor timer on the screen ticked down. 02 bar, 00159. He muttered under his breath. Come on, Cole, don't blow up your new in-laws. Finally, he found the source, a hidden override command, encrypted with alien symbols. He couldn't read them, but he recognized the pattern. Binary code. Math was universal. He input a manual bypass and hit enter. The screen went black. The reactor timer froze at 0007. The hum returned to normal. The alarms went silent. Ryan exhaled hard, leaning back. That's how humans do it. The comm opened again, the general's voice softer this time. You stopped it. How? Ryan smirked. You wouldn't understand. Too human. There was a pause. Then she said quietly, perhaps. Moments later, she appeared in the doorway, looking at him, not as an intruder this time, but as something else. She stepped closer, her tone low. The council will not like this. You exposed weakness in our system. Maybe they should thank me. Or they might kill you for it. Ryan met her gaze. Then I guess I'll just have to keep saving your lives until they change their minds. For the first time, she almost smiled, just a shadow of one. Be careful, human, she said. In this galaxy, survival is never rewarded twice. She turned and left. Ryan watched her go, then looked out the window again, at the stars beyond the glass. Somewhere out there, someone had tried to kill him, and for the first time since arriving, he wasn't afraid because now he had purpose, and if the galaxy wanted a fight, the human husband of the royal daughters was ready. Assassins in the dark. The night aboard the Valkyrian was never truly dark. The ship's walls pulsed faint blue like the heartbeat of a sleeping beast. But on this night, something changed. The lights flickered. The hum of the engines grew uneven, like the ship was holding its breath. Ryan Cole, still in the engineering bay, looked up from his work. He knew that sound now. It wasn't just a system glitch. It was silence, and the kind that happens right before everything goes wrong. He wiped grease from his hands and whispered, "Not again." A whispering voice came from the intercom. Section 12, power down. Then static. Then nothing. Ryan stood up slowly. The air felt wrong, too still, too cold, and then a metallic click. He turned toward the sound and just in time to see something shimmer in the corner. A faint outline like light bending around an invisible shape. Cloaked unit, Ryan muttered. He reached for a wrench, the only weapon nearby, as the shape moved. Suddenly, 3 blades slashed through the air where his head had been a moment before. Ryan ducked, rolled behind a console, and hit the alarm. Nothing. The panel sparked. Communication cut. He was completely alone. Somewhere above the deck, the cloaked attackers moved like shadows. Silent. Precise. Not random pirates. Trained killers. Ryan's heart pounded. He remembered what Tirana had said. The ones who hate you are waiting outside. Maybe they weren't waiting anymore. He threw a wrench at the nearest flicker of light. It hit something solid. A distorted figure hissed and decloaked, revealing a tall, black-armored assassin with glowing red eyes. Target, human, confirmed. Ryan grabbed a pipe and swung hard, knocking the creature backward. Sparks flew as the assassin hit the console. Ryan ran for the maintenance corridor, shouting, "Computer, lock the section." "Command override detected," the system replied. The voice wasn't the ship's AI anymore, it was someone else's. A deeper voice, distorted and cold. "You don't belong here, human. The Empire rejects you." Ryan froze. "Who are you?" No answer. only the sound of footsteps closing in. Meanwhile, in the command deck, General Tirana was in council with her advisors when the emergency lights flashed red. Unscheduled power drop, Section 12. Her officer shouted. Tirana's eyes narrowed. That's the humans section. Should I send guards? She paused for half a second and then snapped, No, I'm going myself. Back in the engineering bay, Ryan was running out of space. The assassins had sealed the exits. One crawled along the ceiling, moving spider fast, while another drew a glowing blade that hummed with dark energy. Ryan backed into the corner. Come on then, he muttered. If this is a bad dream, at least let me wake up swinging. The first assassin lunged. Ryan ducked and smashed a metal rod into the creature's helmet, cracking it. The second came from behind, slashing his arm. Pain burned, but Ryan didn't stop. He grabbed a fuel cell and slammed it onto the floor. A spark scattered. The assassins paused. Ryan grinned. That's plasma fuel, boys. You strike, we all go boom. They hesitated, just for a second. That was enough. Ryan dove for the maintenance shaft and rolled inside, sealing the hatch. He crawled fast, breathing hard, his arm bleeding. Behind him, the muffled sound of footsteps followed. They were hunting him. He reached the auxiliary core, a small round room full of glowing circuits. He typed rapidly into the control pad, trying to restore communications. Come on. Static, then a familiar voice. Ryan, it was Tirana. General, you've got intruders on your ship, I know. I'm on my way. Stay hidden. Hidden? Lady, they're crawling through your vents. Her voice sharpened. Then fight. You're their target. Make it worth their effort. Ryan smirked. Wasn't planning to die quietly anyway. A vent behind him burst open, an assassin dropped through, blades flashing. Ryan ducked and slammed a power cable into the floor. Electricity arced through the air, catching the attacker mid-strike. The assassin screamed, sparks flying from his armor before collapsing in smoke. Ryan stood, breathing hard, hands shaking. One down, then the door exploded. The remaining two stepped through, weapons drawn. Before they could move, a silver blur sliced between them. General Tirana, her plasma spear cutting through the air like light itself. The assassins turned, but she was faster, every strike elegant and deadly. Ryan could only watch as she cut one down, then pinned the other to the wall. Who sent you? She demanded. The assassin hissed, his voice breaking. The council said the human must die. He will change everything. Tirana's eyes narrowed. They fear him already. The assassin lunged one last time, but Ryan threw the same wrench that started it all, hitting the attacker's head cleanly. The body dropped lifeless. Tirana turned surprised. Ryan shrugged. Guess humans are good at throwing things too. For a moment she just stared at him. Then she looked at his bleeding arm and sighed. You are injured. Nothing new. You should see the other guys. Her lips curved just slightly. Not a smile, but not anger either. You fought well, she said. Better than most of my trained soldiers. Ryan grinned faintly. You sound almost impressed. I am. Concerned, she said quietly. If the council wants you dead, it means they see you as a threat. To what? She looked at him, and this time, her eyes weren't cold. To everything we are. The ship was silent again. Smoke drifted from the destroyed door. Ryan looked around at the mess. So, same time tomorrow? The general gave him a long look. Human, you are chaos. But maybe the kind we need. As she turned to leave, her daughters appeared at the door, running to her side, eyes wide. Mother, we heard explosions. She placed a hand on their heads gently. All is well, your human has earned another day. Ryan laughed softly. Another day, huh? I'll take that. The general looked back once more, her voice almost a whisper. Be careful, Ryan Cole. The galaxy just started noticing you. That night, as he sat alone in the dark, Ryan stared at the stars again. He wasn't just a prisoner anymore. He wasn't even just a husband by law. He was becoming something far more dangerous. A human the galaxy couldn't predict, and the stars outside the window seemed to whisper back, change is coming. The human way, the Valkyrian floated silently among the stars, a fortress drifting in endless night. Its crew had faced assassins, sabotage, and chaos, and at the center of it all was still one man, the human husband they never wanted. Ryan Cole had become a name whispered across every deck. Some called him lucky, others called him cursed, but everyone was watching, and somewhere deep inside General Tirana was watching too. Days turned into weeks. Ryan wasn't in chains anymore, but he wasn't free either. He worked with the engineering team repairing the power cores, adjusting shield frequencies and solving problems no one else dared touch. The aliens watched in quiet confusion. Humans were supposed to be primitive, emotional, impulsive, weak. But this one was different. One morning, Ryan entered the hangar to find 3 Zarathi soldiers arguing. A younger soldier had broken a stabilizer plate, and his commander was shouting in his face, threatening to throw him into a vacuum cell. Ryan stepped forward calmly. "Easy there, Captain. It's just a plate," the commander turned, glaring. "Stay out of this, human." Ryan ignored him, crouched beside the trembling young soldier, and examined the part. He smiled faintly. "You didn't break it. The weld's weak. Bad design. Happens all the time." He grabbed his plasma torch and fixed it in under a minute. Then he stood, wiped his hands, and looked at the commander. "See, no punishment needed. Just bad engineering." The other soldiers exchanged glances. The commander hesitated, then muttered something under his breath and walked off. The young soldier stared at Ryan like he'd seen a ghost. "You didn't yell. You just helped." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, on my planet we call that teamwork." Word spread fast. The human didn't rule with fear. He led with heart. Soon soldiers started coming to him for advice, now not orders. He taught them small things, how to trust, how to cooperate, how to laugh. He told them stories of Earth, of people who fought wars but also built peace, who fell but got up again. At first, they listened out of curiosity. Then, out of respect, even the general noticed the change. Her crew was calmer, more efficient, more alive. One evening she called Ryan to her private chamber on a rare event. The room was dim, full of starlight and shadows. She stood by the window, her armor removed, wearing a dark robe. "You've changed my ship," she said without turning around. Ryan frowned. "For better or worse?" She looked over her shoulder, her silver eyes unreadable. "That depends who you ask," he smiled slightly. "And you?" Her gaze softened just for a heartbeat. "I don't know. My crew works better, but they question orders now. They think differently." "That's not a bad thing," Ryan said. "Thinking is the start of freedom." "Freedom," she repeated the word like it was foreign. "Humans speak of it as if it were air. We were never taught to breathe it." Ryan stepped closer, his voice low. "Then maybe it's time to learn." The silence between them carried weight. The general turned away, hiding something that almost looked like doubt. The next morning, alarms shook the ship again, but this time it wasn't assassins. It was a council fleet. 3 massive dreadnoughts dropping out of warp space surrounding the Valkyrian. Ryan ran to the command deck. The officers were shouting, panic spreading. "Council override code received. They're demanding inspection. Energy readings, they've armed their cannons." Tirana's voice cut through the chaos. "Stand down. They won't dare fire on me." But Ryan could see the truth on the radar. They weren't bluffing. "This isn't an inspection," he said. "It's a warning." The screen flickered and a massive hologram appeared. A tall alien in ceremonial armor, the High Consul himself. "General Tirana," the voice boomed. "By order of the Council, you are to surrender the human immediately." The general stood tall. "He is under my protection. The law binds him to my family." "The law binds nothing when it threatens the Empire," the consul snapped. "That human's influence spreads like infection. Your crew laughs, questions, dreams. It ends now." Ryan stepped forward. "Maybe they're just becoming something better." The consul turned his burning eyes on him. "You speak as if you understand us." "I don't have to understand," Ryan said quietly. "I just see what you're afraid of and change." The hologram flickered. "You will regret your arrogance, human. By dawn, the law will burn with you." The signal cut off. The dreadnoughts began charging weapons. Tirana looked at Ryan. "You brought this war to my doorstep." Ryan met her eyes. "No. They brought it because they fear what you could become." She clenched her fists. "If I fight the Council, I become a traitor." He stepped closer. "And if you don't, you become a slave." The ship trembled as the first energy wave struck the shields. The crew looked to Tirana, waiting, uncertain. She looked at Ryan, at her daughters hiding near the console, and then back at the stars. Her voice came like thunder. "Activate all cannons. Prepare evasive maneuvers." The officers gasped. "General, that's rebellion." She stared at them with burning eyes. "No," she said. "That's freedom." Ryan rushed to the controls, helping reroute power. The soldiers followed his lead without hesitation. In minutes, the Valkyrian roared to life, shields glowing, engines flaring bright. The first dreadnought fired, a blinding beam of plasma. Ryan shouted, "Now!" "Rotate shields, channel the energy back." The ship turned sharply, the beam reflecting off the hull and slamming into another enemy cruiser. The crew cheered. The human's voice cut through the noise. "Let's show them what thinking differently can do." The general smirked. "You heard him. Fire everything!" The stars lit up with war. The Valkyrian danced between enemy fire, every move precise and unpredictable. Human-style improvisation mixed with alien power. Hours later, when the smoke cleared, only the Valkyrian still stood, damaged, glorious, alive. The crew erupted in cheers. But Tirana said nothing. She looked at Ryan, at the man who had turned her warship into something unstoppable. "You were right," she whispered. "Freedom is terrifying." Ryan smiled tiredly. "Yeah, but it's worth it." That night the ship drifted silently again. But the galaxy wasn't silent anymore. Across the Empire, whispers spread, of a human who defied the Council, who taught warriors how to laugh, and who fought beside a general who once wanted him dead. And far away, in the shadows of the stars, the Council plotted their next move. Because now, one human had changed the course of an empire, and the galaxy was just beginning to feel it. War of Honor. The Valkyrian drifted through a graveyard of stars. What had been victory now looked like silence. Broken ships, burnt light, the heavy hum of cooling weapons. Ryan Cole stood on the main deck, watching the wreckage fade behind them. The battle against the Council fleet was over. But peace did not follow. It never did. The crew worked in quiet fear. Every sensor reading could mean another ambush. Every whisper might be betrayal. And somewhere deep in his chest, Ryan felt it, the calm before a larger storm. The general's burden, General Tirana, hadn't spoken to him in 2 days. She stayed locked in the strategy chamber, talking to no one except the command AI. Rumor spread fast. The Council had branded her a traitor. Ryan entered the chamber without permission. "Still ignoring sleep?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Sleep is for those who have homes to dream about." "Pretty words," he said, stepping closer. "But you're burning yourself out." "You need a plan, not guilt." Tirana finally faced him. "You think I fear death?" "No," Ryan said softly. "I think you fear losing meaning." Her eyes flickered. "Not anger, not yet." "Explain." "You fought for law your whole life," he said. "Now you're fighting against it. You're not just at war with the Council, Tirana. You're at war with yourself." The silence between them felt like gravity. Then very quietly she said, "Then tell me, human, what do your people fight for when all laws turn against them?" Ryan looked at her with a sad smile. "We fight for each other." Shadows on the hull that night, alarm screamed again, but this time from the outer hull. "Multiple signatures!" shouted a guard. Not Council ships, smaller, faster. Pirate vessels. Or worse, mercenaries hired to finish what the Council couldn't. The ship jolted as explosions rippled across its shields. Ryan grabbed the intercom. "All fighters, defensive pattern Delta. Keep them off the reactor vents." Tirana stormed onto the deck, her daughters close behind. "Elira, Tessa, let's stay with the guards," she ordered. Ryan saw the worry in her eyes, the kind she tried to hide. "You trust me?" he asked quickly. "Never," she said. "But you're good at surviving." "That's enough," Ryan grinned. "I'll take it." The breach, the first wave of mercenaries cut through the hull. Black-suited assassins poured inside like smoke, silent and deadly. Ryan led a team through the narrow corridors, rerouting airlocks and setting traps. "Seal Corridor 7, he shouted. "Sealed." "Now vent 8. The vacuum sucked half the invaders into open space, but more kept coming. One of them, larger, wearing crimson armor, strode forward with 2 plasma blades. "You're the human," he growled through the visor. "The Empire's mistake." Ryan lifted a captured rifle. "Maybe, but mistakes change history." They clashed, sparks flying, steel meeting plasma. Ryan ducked a swing, rolled, and shot the floor panel, venting hot steam. The mercenary staggered, blinded. Ryan grabbed a loose cable and jammed it into the armor's chest. Electric arcs burst, the body convulsed and fell. History lessons over, Ryan muttered. Betrayal, but as the crew fought, another threat rose, inside the command deck. One of Tirana's senior officers turned his blaster toward her. For the council, he hissed. Before he could fire, Ryan burst in from the lift, smoke still clinging to his jacket. Duck, he shouted. Tirana moved an instant before the shot ripped through her shoulder. Ryan tackled the traitor, slamming him into the console. They fought savagely, 2 soldiers locked in chaos. The traitor snarled, "She doomed us all." Ryan struck again, teeth clenched. "She gave you freedom, you coward." With a final hit, the officer collapsed. Ryan turned. Tirana was on the floor, blood glowing faintly blue under her armor. He rushed to her side. "Hey, stay with me." Her breathing was rough. "I told you." "Bravery kills." "Not today," he said, tearing open a med pack. "Not if I can help it." He worked fast, sealing the wound with the alien nanogel she'd once mocked him for keeping. Her hand caught his wrist weakly. "Why save me again?" Ryan looked at her, eyes steady, voice quiet. "Because you'd do the same for me. You just don't know it yet." Her gaze softened. Human sentiment. Contagious. Then she passed out. The choice hours later, the mercenary fleet withdrew, half destroyed, half fleeing. The crew gathered in silence around the medical chamber. Tirana lay inside a stasis pod, unconscious but alive. Eliara, her youngest, looked up at Ryan. Will she wake up? Ryan placed a hand on the glass. She will. She has to. The crew looked to him, uncertain, leaderless. He could feel their fear. And for the first time, he understood what Tirana carried every day. He turned to the command console. "All right," he said quietly. "Listen up. The council wants us dead. The pirates want a payday. But we're still here. So we fight, not for orders, not for rank. For each other." No one spoke for a moment. Then one soldier shouted, "For the Valkyrian." Another echoed, "For the general." And soon the whole deck roared. Ryan looked back at Tirana's pod and whispered, "For you too, Commander." A pulse in the dark hours passed. The ship drifted near a dying star, its light weak but constant. Ryan stayed by her side, eyes heavy but unblinking. Then the monitors beeped. The pod's lights flared gold. Tirana gasped, her eyes snapping open, bright, alive, fierce. Ryan grinned. "Told you not to die." She sat up slowly, voice hoarse. "You led them?" "Just borrowed your ship for a bit," he said with a smirk. She looked at him for a long moment. "The crew, they follow you now." He shook his head. "They follow hope. You gave them that." "I just reminded them why." She exhaled slowly, a small smile ghosting her lips. "Then perhaps—" "This war is worth fighting." Ryan nodded. "Not a war for power, a war for honor." Outside, the dying star flared one last time, bathing the ship in firelight. 2 figures stood together, the human and the general, ready to face a galaxy that now feared them both. Far beyond, on the council world, the High Consul watched the transmission of the battle, Ryan standing beside Tirana. His claws tightened around the armrest. "Begin Project Purge," he hissed. "If the human teaches them honor, we will show them despair." The war was far from over. It had only just begun, and across the stars every race whispered the same thing. The human fights not for power, but for heart. The new law, the galaxy was burning. From the outer moons of Zirath to the crimson clouds of the Orion Belt, civil fleets were choosing sides. Some swore loyalty to the High Council. Others whispered the forbidden name of the traitor General Tirana and the human who fought beside her. Inside the Valkyrian, the air smelled of ozone and fear. The crew worked without rest. Armor clanged, engines screamed, and across every deck one message pulsed through the intercom. Tomorrow we face the Council itself. The final plan Ryan Cole stood before the star map. Red dots marked enemy dreadnoughts. A single blue light marked them. "One ship," he said quietly, "against the entire empire." Tirana joined him, her arm still wrapped in bandages. "Then we don't fight their size," she said. "We fight their belief." Ryan looked at her. "Belief? They think the law makes them gods," she said. "We show them it only made them cowards," he grinned. "Now that's the general I married by accident." For the first time, she didn't correct him. The march to judgment. The next day, the Valkyrian warped into orbit above the council capital, a planet covered in crystal towers and burning shields. Millions watched the broadcast as Tirana's ship appeared against the twin suns. The High Consul's voice thundered across every channel. "General Tirana, surrender the human and your treason may yet be forgiven." Tirana stepped forward on the bridge, her voice carried through the void. Forgiveness from tyrants means nothing. Today the law faces trial. Ryan's hands moved over the console. "Signal ready." At her nod, he pressed the key. A beam of blue light shot from the ship, projecting a live image of the galactic courtroom across the entire empire. Every planet, every soldier, every child could now see and hear them. Tirana spoke clearly. "For centuries, the law ruled us through fear. It said who could live, who could love, who could touch, but one human's hand saved life, not destroyed it. If that is crime, then let every world be guilty." The consul laughed, a sound like broken glass. "You bring emotion into law. You bring chaos into order?" Ryan stepped beside her. "No, we bring humanity into power. Fire and betrayal. The council ships opened fire. Light filled the sky and 1,000 lances of energy tearing through darkness." The Valkyrian shuddered, shields collapsing. "Evasive," shouted the pilot. Ryan gripped the console. "We can't outrun that much fire." Tirana looked at him with fierce calm. "Then we fly through it," she gave the order. Engines screamed. The ship dived straight toward the council armada. Enemy crews shouted in confusion. No one had ever flown into the guns before. The Valkyrian weaved through explosions, cutting a blazing trail. Ryan rerouted power from weapons to the engines, sparks raining from the ceiling. "Come on, hold together." A blast hit the side. Alarms wailed. Tirana stumbled, blood on her lip, but refused to fall. "Navigation, target the central citadel." Ryan's eyes widened. "You're going to ram it?" She met his gaze. "No, we're going to wake it." The ancient Korat. The heart of the capital tower pulsed the galactic core, an ancient AI that had enforced the law for millennia. Ryan's scanners flickered. "It's alive. And it's listening," Tirana said. "Every verdict, every death, every marriage, all decided by that machine," Ryan whispered. "Then let's teach it something new." He connected his wrist implant, the golden mark still glowing from the binding law. Energy surged. His memories, emotions, and heartbeat streamed into the core. The AI's voice boomed. "Identity, human, access forbidden." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Access granted. New parameter. Compassion. Strength." The core screamed, light bursting through the tower. Across the galaxy, systems blinked, laws rewritten in seconds. Tirana shielded her eyes. "What did you do?" He smiled faintly. "Gave your law a conscience. The fall of the council." The High Consul roared in fury. "Shut it down. Destroy the core." But it was too late. The core turned its judgment on its creators. Verdict: corruption detected, council guilty. Blue fire swept through the capital, disarming fleets, freezing weapons mid-air. When the light faded, the mighty dreadnoughts hung silent, powerless. On every world, the same message appeared. Law revised. Honor through choice. Bond through will, not birth. The new law had been written. Aftermath silence filled the bridge. The Valkyrian drifted among quiet stars. The crew stared at Ryan as if seeing something impossible. Tirana stepped toward him. "You changed the code of a civilization." Ryan gave a tired laugh. "Guess I'm not great at following rules." Her eyes softened. "Then perhaps we'll make better ones." Eliara and Tessa ran onto the deck, hugging their mother and the human who'd saved them twice. Outside the viewport, 1,000 new ships blinked their lights. Not an attack, but salute. The human and the general. That night, under the calm of new stars, Tirana and Ryan stood at the observation window. The galaxy shimmered like molten glass. Tirana spoke quietly. "The council is gone. The law has changed." "What now?" Ryan smiled, the golden mark still glowing faintly on his wrist. "Now we start over. Not human, not alien, just people." She looked at him, truly looked. "You were never my enemy," she said. "You were the mirror we refused to face." He reached out, touched her hand. No alarm sounded, no guards rushed in. Just silence, acceptance. For the first time, the touch of a human was not a crime. It was hope. Epilogue: years later, stories spread across the stars. They spoke of the human husband, the lawbreaker, and the general who learned to breathe freedom. Children of 100 species repeated the tale. A man touched what he should not, and by that touch taught a galaxy to feel, and somewhere far beyond the reach of any law, two figures stood on a balcony of light, watching the new dawn rise over a free galaxy. The general smiled. By law or by choice, you are ours now, human. Ryan smiled back. By heart, General. Always by heart.